welcome back to Wounded on Sixes. Today we're going to be reviewing round 2 of my Warhammer 40k Summer League going on at my local game store. We're going to go over my list real quick as it didn't really change from round 1 if you saw that video. We've also done a separate video on this Mont'ka list that I've been running on the channel. Go find it in the Tau playlist. And then we're going to go over my opponent's list, go over the layout, the rules, the scores, the whole nine. So starting off real quick, because we've kind of already gone over this list before and there have been no changes, I'm just going to run through it real quick. We got a Coldstar with quad fusion, an Enforcer Commander with quad missiles, and then we have another Enforcer with 2 missile pods and 2 plasma. He's also going to have Exemplar, the Mont'ka, allowing him to have the Mont'ka ability into round 4. We then got 3 units of Stealth Battlesuits. Absolutely fantastic. I must find. A lot of people running 2. I'm still running the 3 because I like to have that extra one to do actions if it's not guiding. Can also make, if you guide all 3 of them into a target, can make for a really good alpha strike. We then have the Vespid Stingwings, scoring champions, uppy downy built in. Really, really nice. Not a very, an okay attack unit, but really you just want to use them to score. 3 single broadside units, all going to be running those rail rifles. They're absolutely fantastic, as we're going to see, especially against marine armor. We then have a Crisis Fireknife Battlesuit team. They're going to have all the missiles, be with one of the commanders with the missiles. The Starscythes here, all with the burst cannons. Really good at taking out infantry. And then we have the Sunforge running with the Coldstar. Absolutely fantastic at taking out any kind of enemy monster or vehicle. 2 Ghostkeel Battlesuits, because these guys are the absolute best unit in the Tau Codex. I need to get a 3rd one because they just perform so well. They can do so much in game. If you're not playing Ghostkeels, you're not doing it right. 2 Piranhas, absolutely fantastic for alpha striking your opponent. 9-inch scout, 14-inch move, the ability to advance and shoot, so you can get really far. You can move block with these guys, and they're a great target for the pinpoint counteroffensive and the feed 'em fish strategy. We then have the Riptide Battlesuit here, ion accelerator. He's pretty good. I mean, he's really good at like hiding a flank. He can fall back and shoot. He can stay in combat and shoot. His hit roll cannot be modified. He's a beast with a 4-up invul. Finally, rounding it out, we got the Skyray, one of my favorite gunship tank kind of units. Really good at taking out enemy flyers. A lot of scary Primarchs out there with flying. A lot of other scary units out there with flying. So the Skyray gunship is always good when your opponent has a flying unit. We're now going to take a look at Harold's Ultramarine list, and I've played Harold a couple of times at the shop before. He also plays Tau, although he's an Ultramarine main, and his list is pretty similar to an Ironstorm list that I featured on the channel a couple of weeks back with a few changes here. So first off, he's got Riptide Gilliman, who's an absolute beast. I mean, he hits really hard in combat. His ability to give out 2 oaths a turn is a real problem. He also has the ability to, negate the cost of a CP a turn as well. He can be very, very effective. He then has 2 Tech Marines, one with the Master of Machine War, the other one with the Adept of the Omnissiah. These guys are going to be able to give one of his units advance and shoot, which he's going to try to use to his advantage in this game as we go and we look at the mission that we're going to play here. These Tech Marines definitely play a big role in an Ironstorm Ultramarines list, which is exactly what he's bringing here. We then have 2 Incursors. Now these guys are really good for tagging an enemy unit and giving all other units that attack them a +1 to hit for the rest of the round. Is really, really effective. He's going to use them to great use, mostly to screen out his backfield. And again, when we get to the mission, you'll see why. He's also got a unit of Scout Squad. Nothing really crazy. Most times people will try to like run up and grab some position because, Marines don't normally have a lot of like scout moves in the middle. So these Scout Squad is really good here. He's got a Ballistic Dreadnought. This unit has always been a problem, especially for my Tau, just because it has a 2-up save. So if he can get in cover, which usually you can't because we can ignore cover so much, he's still saving on 6s with -4 AP, like from a railgun or something. So anything that has a 2-up save in his army is definitely a problem for us. The same thing goes with the Fire Strike servo turret. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this. I mean, it only moves 3 inches, but it does kind of pack a little bit of a punch, and it's kind of annoying to get off the field. He then has a Gladiator Lancer. This thing is just an all around beast. It's really the main battle tank for most Marine armies, and its laser destroyer can really pack a punch. Then has an Invictor tactical warsuit. This thing is pretty cool. It has scout, so it can kind of run up, slap you around a little bit, and it's got enough small arms fire to make you think twice about running up on it. He then has a Predator Annihilator. This is going to have all the las, quad las, the twin, and the two sponsons, as well as a Hunter Killer missile. Very difficult unit to deal with because of the rerolls that you can get and generate inside of an Ironstorm list. He then has a Redemptor Dreadnought. He's going to have the big plasma gun. It's not really listed out here properly, but he has the Redemptor. This thing can be a beast. Again, another unit with a 2-up armor save. It negates 1 damage, so this is another problematic unit for me. And then he rounds out the list with 2 Repulsor Executioners. These things are nasty. They're T12. He had the big old laser cannon on the top of it for both of them. They're basically a gunbow, but I will say a lot of their smaller arms fire doesn't have any AP, and against our suits with 2-up saves like the Ghostkeels, the Riptides, the Broadsides, he was having a lot of trouble getting into those units effectively with the Repulsor Executioner. But this is a tough list, and it's a tough list because I know this army very well. In fact, this is the second time this tournament I'm playing an army that I also play, which I think gives me the advantage, although this opponent also plays Tau. So the mission is different, and we'll see that in a moment. But this list is really difficult. I know I have to try to deal with Gilliman and try to prevent him from doing the 2 oaths a turn. I need to prevent these incursors from making his army hit that much better with all the rerolls that he can generate. And I need to worry especially about these dreadnoughts and their 2-up saves. So those are the things that I'm looking at going into the matchup, at least from his list. So moving over to the mission, we have a weird one here, and the guys at the game shop definitely threw a monkey wrench into the tournament with a very weird asymmetrical mission here, which none of us were really expecting. Again, this is a league, not a tournament, although we are definitely keeping score, and there is competitive players in this, but they did say that this is going to be, there will be one other round where there will be another asymmetric mission, so we got to look out for that. But this one was weird. This is the Siphon Power one, where you roll off for attacker and defender, and the defender starts off with 50 points, and then the attacker has to perform actions on objectives that they control for a certain amount of VP. So you can see that you have to get 2 for the one in your deployment zone, which would be this one here if you're the attacker, 3 for any of the ones in no man's land, which would be right here if you're the attacker, and then 5 VP for any of the ones inside of your opponent's deployment zone. There is no objective marker in the middle. So the defender gets to have the entire half of the board to themselves, and then the attacker really has a very small window. The twist that was added to this is very interesting because it only allowed units to target other units that are within 18 inches. So everything in the army has 18-inch lone up. It's a very, very, very interesting game state. So looking at this, looking at the map, at first I wanted to be the defender because I thought it would be easier to kind of just like shoot things off objectives and not allow him to score. The difference is that you score at the end of your turn. So me killing him off the objective wouldn't work. I'd have to control the objectives. And then when we got there and he said that he wanted to be the attacker, when we rolled off and I won to pick attacker or defender, I ended up picking attacker. And I'm glad that I did because being the attacker in this instance was way easier because all I had to do was control the objective at the end of the turn when the action went off to score the points. So I knew I was going to score 1 in my deployment zone every turn, and I basically just put my Vespid right there to do it. But then I was kind of like, what am I going to do the rest of the game. Like, how am I going to deal with his, you know, just like really heavy firepower? Like, he's very close to me. And when he deployed right up on the line here. So it was very easy for him to really get within 18 inches. So at that point, I decided that I am just going to hide and worry about scoring. So we played a very, very tight game where we weren't giving up units willy nilly. Like, we really were trying to make sure that scoring was the number one thing. So my plan was to score in my deployment zone every turn, and then to score at least once in no man's land per turn. So that would be, but again, that's only 2 times 5 is, or 4 times 5. That's 20 points. He would still win on primary. So there had to be at least a turn or two where I could get both. This one, and this one. So at that point, I basically decided that I'm just going to stay back. I'm going to focus on these three. He kind of screened out his backfield, so I couldn't get any of my crisis suits down. I started them all in Deep Strike, and basically decided that I was just going to bring them on to whatever side they needed to kill whatever may come up onto the objective so that we can get on it and do the action. And that was the plan going in. And it worked pretty effectively because my opponent just wasn't able, or just didn't put his units onto those objectives to try to take them from me, because the best way to stop me from doing it is to take the objective so that I cannot control it. And that just didn't happen a lot of times. It did eventually happen, I think round 3 or 4, he put a repulsor executioner on it, which is 5OC. It was this one right here, and I had to like kind of like move my Ghostkeel out of combat, drop it on the objective, and then and to control it, and then killed everything off, to be able to do the action with another unit that was sitting here. So it took a lot, but we ended up getting all three of these every round we could, from 2 to 5. So that was really effective there. And my opponent did make a couple of mistakes, and we're going to look at a picture real quick of the deployment, because unfortunately that's the only picture I have. But my opponent did make a couple of mistakes, particularly later in the game, that, along with me being able to score like consistently on primary and drain his 50-point lead away, I was able to like effectively catch up in those later rounds, to the point that it went from a very tight game to a not so tight game toward the end of the battle. So here is the only picture that I have, because again, very bad lighting here, especially because we're playing down in the lower level. As you can see, we have like a little lamp here to kind of light the battle for us. But this is at the end of my opponent's turn 1. He's got the screen back here with his scouts and his incursors, executioner. He's got the Predator, Laz there, the Ballistus, this servo strike turret, and then you see Guilliman's right over here. I believe he has a Tech Marine here, Tech Marine here. You got the Lancer right here, ready to set up, although he can't shoot pretty much anything because of the 18-inch lone op. And again, I made sure to even put my Ghostkeels back further, because I wanted them to their 12-inch lone op to matter that much more, because these were going to be the way that I scored this closest objective to him, and right inside this fire lane. You got the other incursors here. You got the Invictor Tactical Warsuit over here. Over here you have the Redemptor, and then over on this, like where this is, you would have the second Repulsor Executioner. So actually in this photo you have Guilliman right here performing sabotage, and it's just close enough for me to get up here. So I have some stealth suits in here. I have a broadside over here, the Sky Rays back here. We got one Piranha here and one Piranha that moved back with its scout move. The Vespid are just hanging out, and they're going to sit there that whole game. We don't need to pop them up. We're not going to use them for anything. We're just going to let them sit there and score and score and score. We have another broadside or two over here, and then the two Ghostkeels, and then all of our crisis suits were in deep strike. But yeah, there was a lot of times like where this servo turret is kind of hurt my opponent a little bit because he put it in front of the executioner at one point, and it only moves 3 inches. He tried to advance and shoot with it with one of his tech marines, but it didn't move very far, so he kind of like move blocked himself here with the repulsor where it really couldn't get in here very much. But yeah, we ended up killing Gilliman round one with some firepower. He did come back to life. He ended up, our Skyray ended up dying. He ended up killing some stealth suits. It wasn't really looking good at that point, but then we dropped the fire knives here, killed Gilliman with him. So we shut off his double oath, which was really nice. And then the rest of the time we were just looking to score. The Sunforge came down here and eventually killed the Repulsor Executioner on this side. We also killed the Invictor Tactical Warsuit, the Redemptor, the Ballistus, the Fire Strike Turret, and the Annihilator here. They all went down. The Lancer survived, this Executioner survived, one of the Tech Marines survived, and one of the Incursor squad survived in the end. For us, both of our Ghostkeels died, our Riptide died, but the Riptide died in pretty glorious fashion and kind of helped to seal the deal in round 4. So now that we're looking at this, we're going to go over to the scorecard and show you how this all worked out. In the end, the Tau were victorious, 80-52. A lot of it came down to the siphon power. As you can see here, our opponent started with 50 points in round 1. We started with 0. Just to note, we were not playing the challenger cards because obviously the attacker always started below the defender. So we did not use those cards. My opponent kept track. You also can't track this kind of asymmetrical game in the Tabletop Battles app. So my opponent kept track of the siphon power on one, and I kept track of the secondaries here. So, we were able to score 8 points for siphon power every turn to turn it to an 18-32 point victory in primary, which is really nice. But the secondary play for us was absolutely fantastic. We were able to score our secondary in every single round, whereas our opponent missed out a couple of times. We were able to stop his sabotage round 1 with Gilliman. He ended up killing the Riptide that was on 2 wounds and kind of blocking the one of the objectives. So that was the objective we picked. So because he killed the Riptide in shooting, he had nothing to charge onto that tempting target for. And same thing with Storm Hostile Objective. He he killed an enemy unit or one of my units off of the objective, but then couldn't charge onto it to take it, so he couldn't get Storm Hostile Objective there. We ended up lucking out in the end, also getting Assassination and Overwhelming Force, where we were kind of able to get a couple of free shots on a servo turret and on his one of his Tech Marines to really make up for it. This Established Locus and Sabotage was also brought to you by those Starscythe unit. I think the only thing that it shot at was an Overwatch and an Incursor squad. They ended up coming down from Deep Strike in his deployment zone, which is more than half of the battlefield, or half the battlefield, and they established Locus in his zone, and then the next turn ran over and sabotaged in his zone too. So that unit scored us 10 secondary points right there. And again, another victory where, yes, we killed a lot of things off the board. Our shooting was very effective. Our -4 AP weapons, like the fusion guns and the rail guns, really did a number on his armor, especially his 3-up save tanks. So that was really impressive. But again, just focusing on scoring. I kind of felt favored in this match because I like my matchup against Marines just because, we're a bit faster than them. We have better AP. We can ignore cover. We can really give them a hard time, and they don't have a lot of invols, especially on their big vehicles. So I really like our matchup here. I like the matchup for this mission, especially. And again, it's a weird mission, not a competitive mission. We will be going back to a competitive game for round 3, but very interesting to throw this kind of stuff into the league. And I had a lot of fun playing this game. And Harold is a great opponent, and I hope we get more games together in the future. So this is the battle, and right now we are sitting. And again, round 2 is not done, but we are 1-1 with an 84 loss and an 80 win. We are currently in 4th place out of 14 players in the league. So I'm pretty excited about that. Now, what are we going to see in the next round? Well, now that we're kind of looking at it in the BCP ranks, it looks like we may get a matchup against some pretty nasty Necrons. And this would be the 3rd round in a row where I play an army that I also play. So really excited about that. Again, there could be changes depending on, we still have a couple of games to go, but it looks like we might have a Necron matchup next time. So let me know what you think about this list, this game. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you come back for more Wounded on Sixes.